God damn this lighting level, hey? Bit of an awkward situation, I must say. Greetings and welcome to Shadowstar. I'm Ri'shad, aka the Renegade, and I apologise for the older method of using demo record, but ever since that whole situation with STO's server hiccup, complete crash of the updating servers, and subsequent issues that have followed on after that, such as now when you install the game from a blank slate, you don't have the screenshot file, and other issues similar, I'm having to resort to this demo record. Hey, I'm Shikiri Shardinodo, also known as Ri'shad, and welcome to the Star Trek Online visual review of the Odyssey class. There's a reason why I'm tolerating the upper section for this, and it's purely down to what you're seeing right now on screen. If you are like me and have a strong eye for detail, this environment also brings up certain special elements of the new texture. Elements that you don't see on any of the other textures, be it the Galaxy, the Sovereign, the NX, the TMP, the Disco. None of them have this lovely little texturing, and it's a sort of hint, I guess, at the nearing future, because there is one other texture that has this kind of patterning appearing: temporal. Anyone looking at the forward section of the saucer yet? Near the registry, just underneath the closest RCS thruster, you can see 6 lit windows going from right to left. You see 6 lit windows, 1 off, 2 lit, 2 off. Well, with those 6 lit windows, lovely little texture. And funny enough, that texture isn't only there, because if you then go down and look at the sensor pod, you'll see it there. And I loved this. A little bit of lighting detail that shows that the hull material is advanced, and they're using a new hull material that has this heavy refraction of light, and subsequently, I would guess, energy. Probably a better variant of ablative armor. Refractive armor, maybe. And this is where I get really hyped, because I have to be completely clear in front of you right now. I've always been a bit of a fan of the Odyssey class. Hell, the Sovereign is one of my favourite enterprises, so it's probably not a surprise that something that follows a very similar design aesthetic would be among my favourites, especially considering my first enterprise, as I love to talk to people and recite to people and just remind you all, was the Enterprise D. So unlike Scotty, when I ask a computer to show me the bridge of the Enterprise, I say NCC 1701D. No bloody C, B, A, original, or any of the others that came before it, because there were not only 5. And no bloody J either. No, I say D. I like the E. I'll be honest, I do like the E. I really like the F. That melding between the D and the E. Bringing back the Explorer. And then STO went and upgraded it. They gave it a slightly more bulbous secondary hull. A more reinforced sort of Excelsior refit Enterprise B. Boosted impulse engines. They flattened out the top of the nacelles near the Bassard shielding and stretched the back to make even more prominent fins over the rear. And that was the Yorktown class. Also, they more extremed certain aspects at the front of the ship that are very hard to see in this lighting, So I'll be sure to change lighting when I get a second. But, I know it's causing this bloom level. I really should deal with the bloom level, shouldn't I? But this ship, let me be honest, the Yorktown is pretty, but it takes what I love about the Odyssey and wrecks it. The Endeavour is obviously tactical. It's very much follows its form and function, but it takes the Odyssey and ruins it greatly. And the one that I can never pronounce the name of, the engineering variant of the Odyssey, Sojourn. It's pretty. I do like the fact that it has a Sovereign class style deflector, and if you put the Sovereign hull on the whole aesthetic look with the Odyssey nacelles and saucer, then that variant looks absolutely amazing. But nothing has surpassed this ship, and I'll be honest with you guys, even the original concept doesn't shine in comparison to this ship, in my personal opinion. That's just me there, but that's my viewpoint. So, seeing it redone like this, the new textures, the bright white hull, I think it's beautiful. There are a lot of things I want to talk about here, and yes, I'm stalling, so let's start off with letting time maneuver, and we can launch something, giving me just enough time to launch it, maybe, possibly, perhaps, we'll see. There we go. Ah, good to see they fixed the launch animation, hey. Here is the Aquila. Also updated to use the same hull texture, with the same windows and lighting. It's actual, currently using the, well, it's not using the Andromeda hull paint, the one below it, I forgot what it's called. It starts with a C. I've used that hull paint on it because to me that's what it should be now, since that's what the Enterprise is supposed to have on it. For those that don't know, if you do go to get this ship, be sure to change to that specific style. I will try to remember at the end of this video to show you what I've done to get as close to the Enterprise F as possible. But we got a nice little shine on this ship. I love seeing the texture updated to it because this ship did need a little bit of love. And all I'm going to say is, although it doesn't look like it's been remodeled, the texture alone makes it feel like it's been remodeled. And quite frankly, I'm in love with it. I'm so glad this was done because this is one of my favourite ships to fly. Finally getting a Tier 6 version of the ship was made me so happy, and then seeing it now get even more love. I gotta be honest with you guys, I'm just over the moon. And look at that, they even improved the docking area, where normally there would be a hangar if you have the older version. They've enhanced the docking area, giving some beam strips there for protection, I think. Is it beam strips? I need to come up here. No, they're not. Refueling ones, docking. That's actually, no, because of where they go into, that's the turbo lift. Wow, turbo lift down the spine. That has been nicely updated. Mind you, that's always been there, but this interior spot here, that's been heavily improved in texture and look. So much better than it used to be. I know you never used to be able to look this close on the ship, and you'd be like, if you actually could see this, you'd be like, oh wow, that was bad in the past, but most people have never seen it. Well, guess what? You're never going to see it now. It's been improved. Nice. I'm happy about that. I'm very happy to see that. Also, these detailings around the top here. All of this improvements. Love it. Beam strips protecting. There are beam strips. They're protecting the Aquila while it's docking and launching. Even better. And you just got these two vents next to the RCS thrusters. The ship feels maneuverable. Even when docking, I imagine the ship could be doing some heavy maneuver and still dock. But yeah, let's speed along to that, shall we? Let the ship fly along round. Gotta be a bit quick on that, and whoops, catch that smoothness. Here we go. Now, for anyone wondering, there it is going in. Does it clip? Well, only a little bit. But damn, you've got to love that, right? I think that is wonderful, and yeah, I would have liked it if these bits were designed to clip through the hole there, because I think they should do, acting like they've docked in, because you can see where they're supposed to clip to the ship. So it would be nice to see that sort of clip in and give us the full dock. But hey, can't argue too much. So next up, we launched the saucer. This in itself has been nicely improved. Let that come back. Down here we see a new battle bridge. Looking very pretty. Nice registration right in front of it. All the docking clamps are nice and visible and look nice and secure. And guess what? Monkeys. Anyone recognize that tune? Guess what? Those docking clamps still don't have anywhere to dock to. But impulse engines, hello. No, I'm pretty sure that was an error, because I've seen a clip that showed actual texturing for the docking clamps. So I think that's an error here in demo record. Oh dear. I was about to say nice little clips up here, but they're not there. Damn. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different saucer that had them. It might just be that. Right. Anyway, saucer details. Impulse engine. Very lovely. Very pretty. Side note. Torpedo launcher! This ship has photon torpedo launchers. Or quantum. Probably quantum if we're fair. The actual saucer still just looks absolutely beautiful and amazing. You've got to love that about the ship, let's be fair. The fact that it has rear photon launchers, but oh no, it does. I was about to say, but doesn't have forward photon launchers? No, it does. It does now. Along with a dual beam emitter. Hello. Hello. We have forward photon launchers, and actually, look at the angle of those photon launchers. Wide arc quantum torpedo launchers, anyone? Nice. That's what I wanted to see. It would be nice if we see the ship flying and it firing quantums out of those launchers. That would be even better, but I'm not going to hold my breath too much to that. A little concerning that there are windows next to a torpedo launcher and a beam array, but maybe that's just a tactical area for this weapon emplacement. Side note. Docking rings right next to weapons. You know what that says, don't you? Okay, if they're not working properly, we can blow them out. Quantum funk bang. Yeah, but that close to the ship would blow half the fucking ship apart, but okay. No, I'm really glad to see these little docks here. In a very heavily armoured forward section of the ship. You can really see the armour in it. It says to me that if this ship was to have to pull a saucer class collision into something, that front is armoured enough to make sure it doesn't take too much damage. Scimitar, be warned. Wouldn't want to do it with this lower bit though, because that looks fragile to me. You know what doesn't look fragile to me? Recognising the rest of this ship. Hello, you are beautiful. Let that come around, and actually I'm going to take this opportunity now to show you a quick bit in customization before we have a bit of a better lighting area. You know, I'm honestly surprised the Odyssey isn't in there right now. I wonder how Cal feels about the Hope Earth being front and center. Oh god, no. Cancel. Back. Customize. There we go. See how the texture's supposed to look. Side note, we now have lovely Odyssey windows. Some of you may wish to use alternate types, but personally, I feel like when you're going to use this ship, you have to use the Odyssey. The Odyssey hull does look great on basically every variation. I will bring this up now. So, quickly talking in customization, because I guess we're here, I might as well. That's it. Cassiopeia is the pattern you want on this ship to get the most accurate to screen representation. And whoopsie daisy, if I can remember, you probably want $09 or 010 to get around the right coloration, but I'm not quite sure because of how lighting changes. I'm not 100% which one is the most accurate. However, any of you trying to pull off the old school style, if I recall right, it's the color 1 you need to change, and you'll be going for sort of deep reds. Oh, deep red, yellow. Don't even think we can get the right yellow anymore. And blue. Yay. Can you imagine having to do that back on these ship stories? Yeah, it was pattern 1. It'd be quite funny to fly that though. Side notes that I will quickly bring up here. Along with the texture overhauls, the Endeavour with the Odyssey. Looks quite nice, doesn't it? Too bad it's all white right now. Not entirely sure why that is. You know. Doors. Honestly speaking, I do think that looks quite nice. But, like I said, this is probably one of my least favourite looks for the ship. I do like the saucer, but that's it. We'll do it this way. One that I can never say the name of. Oops, back to Odyssey. This one looks quite nice as well. Though, again, this is one where I will argue that it probably looks its best if you went and did uno. Whoops. Doors. And yeah, personally, that's the best look for this ship. We have the Yorktown, which is hello, doors, Trez, monkeys. I've hit the wrong button. This one looks extremely good with the Odyssey hull, so personally speaking, once again, the Yorktown ends up being the better looking of the tier 6 Oddies. Though, to each their own, I guess. I've just noticed the captain's yacht is... There's 2 bloody captain's yachts! Or is there one? It might be one. Hello? Verity doesn't have any. Sojourner doesn't have any. Odyssey has its one, yep. Endeavour doesn't have any, so only the Yorktown And the Odyssey, Lexington, of course it doesn't have one. It's got a lance in the bloody way. Lexington doesn't have it either. Oh, and by the way, guys, obviously Lexington is that torpedo module lance dreadnought version of this ship. I think it's a little bit obvious how it looks. And I've just realised, technically speaking, if that's how this ship is supposed to look, if you put the Odyssey hull on it, bearing in mind what I just did, and colour palette right now, would that not then mean that the Odysseys are supposed to be that? That's definitely not how it appeared in the show, but should that not be the Odyssey? Oh, final one. Let's take a quick gander at the Odyssey hull on the Verity, the concept art version. And let's just be fair, it's pretty. I do kind of like it, but at the same time, nah, not so much. Right. Now, I said I'd get us into a better area. Let's do it. And so we're back in one of my favourite areas, the Dyson sphere. Oh, Oggy would be so mad at me. Anyone, welcome to the cheese grater shadowing effect. It's really annoying, guys. I do apologise, but this is probably one of the best areas to get a look at this ship without exploding the lighting on this ship. And so, I'm in cheese grater zone. It's still one of my favourite areas. Aesthetically looking, I just wish they'd fix the shadows in this area. So what have we got here? Detail wise. Details, we've lightly touched on it, but let's go deeper. First of all, way too many windows on, in my opinion, but at the same time, maybe not enough. It feels weird. To me, it feels like there's a lot more life in this ship. And that's not a problem. It's just, it makes me feel a lot worse now for every single time in my complete novice playability, because I am not great, that I blow up an Odyssey class or cause an Odyssey class to go boom, and then I realise just how many people I just killed. Yay! I'm very immature. All of you shall burn. Well, I'll say this though, the lighting effect, the new windows and the blue that they have for their lighting, I actually really like it. And so, quite frankly, this is my favourite window texture pattern for the ship. The deflector has been beautifully updated. I love the new metal material around for the outer shielding or casing, however you want to view it. The 2-level deflector that has that Galaxy class deflector in the center, split a little bit, and then a nice outer ring that almost feels like it's focusing the ability of the deflector. For those that don't know, the difference between shielding and, well, a Starship shields and its deflector shields. Deflector shields are actually a type of shielding and a type of faster than light travel shielding. There's two variants of deflector shields. You have deflector shielding that obviously deflects incoming energy fire. It's not so great against kinetic weaponry though. Just want to point that out. Then you have deflector shielding that would be absolutely amazing against kinetic weaponry because it's designed to push debris away from the ship. And that is what's used during faster than light travel and just standard interspace travel. The deflector shields are always engaged on a starship. Contrary to popular belief, The ship's deflector is never inactive while in space travel, and if it is, the shields themselves must be up to protect the ship. This is because the deflector shields are the only thing stopping the ship from having a piece of micro debris blasting its way straight through the ship into the warp core and blowing the entire ship up. Yep, that's how fragile these ships actually are. Fun little facts there. So, actually, where was I going on this random tangent? It's why I like this idea of having the two-step stage deflector. And the new coloration texture they're giving to it makes it feel so energized and so powerful. I just can't help but love it. Now, I do kind of want to skip away from deflector right now, go to weapons, because we've kind of touched on weapons, and I do think that's a very interesting bit on the ship. So let's first of all go under here to the quantum torpedo tubes that are blue rather than red, and I throw up this because I know that this is supposed to be a trait of the ship anyway. The Odyssey class has a very unique set of torpedo tubes. Not all of them, but its primary torpedo tubes are of this type. They are referred to as varial torpedo tubes, meaning where you have to have torpedo tubes of different sizes to launch different munitions. Varial torpedo tubes can launch all munition types, so it can fire different size warheads of different types with no need to be retrofitted, refitted, or any kind of alterations made to the torpedo launcher. The torpedo launcher just needs to be programmed. This texture detail that looks around it makes me feel like it's of that high level. It feels enhanced versus torpedo tubes that we've seen before now. And I can easily imagine this thing firing, basically going photon, 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 quantum, quantum, transphasic, quantum. Something like that. Or maybe firing a whole bunch of transphasics and then suddenly following that with a whole spread of quantums. Transphasics specifically target towards the shield generators on the enemy ship, taking the shields down so the quantums come in and just slapper the whole, blowing the whole ship to pieces. Just saying, it's a plausible possibility. Frankly, this is a beautiful design in torpedo tube, and I know some people may be thinking, dude, it's just tubes. I'm thinking, Cryptic, thank you. You've done a lot good recently, Cryptic. Speaking of other torpedo tubes, we have the tubes up here. Obviously, quantum or photon launchers. I wouldn't imagine these firing transphasics or chronoton torpedoes. I wouldn't imagine them firing tricobalt devices like I would do the one below the deflector. But that's just because, well, we know that the atypical Federation launcher could fire photons and quantums. But a photon launcher can't fire quantums. It does make sense to me that we'd have the varial in limited supply on the ship, but in the most primary location where they normally would be around. And also having spaced around on the ship the older ones. We've got some under here too, nicely mounted on the neck, but as part of the saucer. This makes a huge amount of sense to me, seeing standard launchers probably firing quantums again, straight forward. So we have the more powerful down here, and the secondaries up here. It's also good to have this saucer armed, because the saucer, as per the Galaxy class, has a singular primary objective: protect the families and the civilians of the crew. Basically, if this ship is going into a high-risk scenario, then any families on board, any civilians on board should all be evacuated to the saucer section. The saucer section disconnects, and only the battle hull, the secondary hull, enters combat. So the secondary hull should also be very well armed, and as we've seen already, it is. And I'm quite glad to see, though, that they didn't smudge off, though, on the saucer. Because the saucer has to be able to protect itself. If it gets ambushed out there with no way to go to warp, I'm not saying that this ship, that by this point they haven't developed a system to allow the saucer to also go to warp. But if the saucer had no way to go to warp, then it would have to be able to protect itself. I do imagine, though, during this phase, considering the Prometheus, this ship would have warp, the saucer would have warp capabilities. If it doesn't, I would be greatly disappointed. We've got some blastily nice looking phaser strips across the top here. Hello on top here, I'll come back to you in a second, but I will point out right now, right next to this. Originally I thought that was an Omni, but I am actually, because of the fact that it's right next to a docking point, it could still be an Omni, but I also want to say it's a tractor beam, so if it's one or the other, I would actually probably then want to argue that it's both. A tractor emitter, but also armed with a omnidirectional beam that can fire on any targets trying to dock. That should not be trying. Going down the back, hello there. Beautiful texture on top, there's that rainbow pattern returning. Phaser strips at the end of the nacelles. Ever since I've started seeing this, I've always thought that was a beautiful idea. Great positioning for phaser strips. It does make sense that although these are considered quite volatile aspects of the ship, see the Enterprise D every time the nacelles got ripped to pieces. It's makes sense to try and protect it as much as possible. Phaser strips on the tail, as we've seen already. Go on the underside, more phaser strips available on that tail. Come down the middle, more phaser strips available. You got the A classic one that you may see on the Galaxy class, while also seeing these two new strips. And what I'm loving here is the ejection point. I feel like this phaser strip shouldn't be here, because you've also got right here the ejection point of the warp core. So you know where engineering is. Yeah. And there's the warp core ejection. Tunk. Goodbye. Excuse me. Side notes to that, though. At least with the phaser strips around it, if they had to eject the warp core, they could basically eject and go bang. And if anything came directly targeted at the warp core, well, they can fire like mad on it until it gets right in the range of the warp core. Obviously I know the warp core is not directly underneath that. It's not like a deck into that section. It's halfway up here in blooming no man's land within the ship. It's well and truly protected, but I am just saying, that's a vulnerable spot, much like the Death Star. Blow off that panel, fire straight up it through every panel necessary, and you could hit the warp core directly. It's good to see it protected. Overall, this ship is extremely well armed, and obviously, although it looks like it doesn't have a huge number of phaser emitters, these are all multi-point phaser emitters, so every single one of these points could be firing 6 or 7 beams off them. I wouldn't be surprised if it was up to 24 beams off of one strip by this point in Starfleet technology. I'm straight up just saying, there's enough weapons and I like it. Let's go to maneuverability now. Impulse, RCS. We'll start with RCS because I brought that up with it being on the tail here. Tail also on the nacelles. I like the fact that it's only the outer edges of the nacelles. It gives me that feeling of the ship trying to quickly roll or to quickly maneuver in a set direction. Based on positioning, I would say these ones in the nacelles are designed to help the ship fast angle roll and also throw its nose forward section down, so you'd end up with a sort of rolling pivot downwards to quickly dive out the way of fire or something. At the same time, you've got them on the side for RCS thrust, so this ship could really quickly slam itself left or right. We've got these powerful RCS thrusters that will allow it to do a barrel roll, do an aileron roll, or blast itself forward, though I guess that would be more likely done with the impulse array. I've always found rear firing RCS to be a bit weird versus impulse, but then again, I guess that's for more sensitive maneuverability. You would definitely need it. I've just counteracted myself there, shut up me. Come down, we have these RCS here that are obviously helping to engage in maneuverability, and the forward ones for, of course, the forward section maneuvering. There is some RCS that you'll find on the underside of here when necessary, but quite frankly, enough to make you feel like the ship is maneuverable, but prefers to be, much like its shape, flying forwards. It has far more maneuverability when it's trying to dart around in a more linear motion. Good or bad thing? You tell me. Let's be fair, it's not a pilot ship. Now, to impulse array. It's always had the impulse on the wings, but these have been greatly improved in aesthetic look in my opinion. I love the fins. To me, I could see them being charged with some kind of energy to help direct the impulse gases being released from the impulse engine in order to boost maneuverability or turning rate. I feel like the pylons, I'm calling them wings, the pylons are there to help it quickly turn, even roll, so that's what I think the fins there are for. And when we come up here, we get this lovely detailing, first seen really on the Sovereign class, with the impulse array, and it just looks beautiful. Clearly directed, clearly nice and powerful, not too powerful for the ship, enough to help it function. And then, I've always found this a bit weird, random red window textures over the entry. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's a miscolor, but hey, if you want to say it's got impulse engines there, go for it. I'll be a little bit nervous about random extra impulse engines. They're not impulse engines, but I just wanted to take the piss out of them. Okay, now to take some detailing to a higher level. First of all, hello escape pods. Plenty of you on this ship. But what about these? Well, this ship has lots of available extra docking, clearly. Intriguing that would be necessary. Especially in the way that it's configured. Says to me a way of docking multiple runabouts, like this ship is trying to bring a fighter squadron of sorts into combat. Considering the ship can now have a hangar, that makes sense. Well, if you have a certain version of the ship, it can have a hangar. And then you have the hangars themselves. These are impressive to me. Just gotta be straight. Saucer hangar. You have what is clearly one designed for runabouts, and two designed for shuttles. They're clearly multi-level, and their size allows for multiple launches, so you can let more than one ship off at once. And actually, considering the size of the Odyssey, that if they took out the support beam, those supports, and made this one gigantic door, this ship could probably fit a small escort or raider inside it. Inside its hangar facilities. Just let that sink in. Because this is mostly open within there. Not that you can see that because it's not textured or designed. I would love to see a version of this with that open. But they took things a bit better. Because one thing that I've always been a bit gripey with is with the Aquila on the back here, no real shuttle bay for this. Yes, there is. Hello. And I like where they placed that. Right at the front there? That makes way too much sense. It's not a huge shuttle bay. It doesn't need to be. There's a massive one on the saucer. So we have this nice shuttle bay here that could could be theoretically quite far running back. And it just has lots of shuttles in, maybe a runabout, launches them out, quick launch to the forward section, easily dealt with. And hey, you've got these grills in here. What could be the grills before? I would say warp bubble sustainers or warp bubble implementers. As the shuttle leaves here, the ship's at warp. Shuttle leaves here at warp, gets given a temporary protective warp bubble as it gets itself away from the ship, and then it goes to warp itself, leaving the warp field of the Odyssey class. Side note though, this is one of my favourite texture updates, and it just makes the neck feel a lot better to me, because I will be honest, I've always been a bit 50-50 with the neck. Only because it's negative space that I'm trying to understand the reason for it being there, other than Starfleet going, because we can. To the nacelles. Not much really has changed about the nacelles, except thanks to new texturing, they look a lot more armoured. The facades look far better in my personal opinion. The warp grills, they're nice. And the nameplates and the little bits of armor texturing just feels so much more alive. And I do love this blue glowing element here. It's simple, not that massively overhauled, but I absolutely love its look. And these are easily my favourite nacelles in the game. They have overtaken my original favourites, which were the Gargarans. So that's something to be said, eh? Oh, Odyssey class. You are a beautiful ship. The bridge. Lovely extra detailing. Love the new little clamshell dock at the back there. I would imagine there being a little shuttle in there, alongside the escape pods for quick evacuation, and that would probably be VIP evacuation. Like I said before, I'm glad to see another docking clamp at the back here, because that can go through this VIP area. And I imagine this whole section up here is VIP, basically. We have these beautiful nodes. Sensor platforms, whatever you want to call them. I think these are lovely bit of detailing texture, makes the ship feel very high-tech and very powerful. And then the biggest thing, the final thing, along with the sensor pod update, we have the captain's yacht. Now here's the thing, I see you, captain's yacht, but you are not like any captain's yacht we have in the game currently. So Cryptic, this is a call out to you right now. Make this captain yacht a thing. Make it the strongest captain yacht. Make it so that we can all play it for, say, 1,000 Zen. You give us this shuttle that we can run shuttle missions with, and it will be a ship that has, I don't know, a lieutenant and an ensign bridge officer seat, or 2 lieutenant bridge officer seats, as 2 engineering, 1 science, 1 tactical console slot, 2 weapon mounts, 1 aft weapon mount. Yeah. There you go. Do it! And you can give us different versions. You can give us a pilot variant that has high maneuverability. You can give us a miracle worker variant that has 1 extra console slot. Because you can give us a temporal variant. A command variant. Go on. Give us a shuttle with specialization. Do it. Okay, but with that all being blasted and said, I gotta stop now. Can we just acknowledge how beautiful she is, though? Cryptic, you've done an absolutely amazing job refreshing her. I have my gripes with you, but this is one of those things you have done beautifully. Thank you, Cryptic. 10 out of 10. No, we're not going over vanity shields. If you want me to do a vanity shield look on this ship, let me know, and I will do a specific video to look at vanity shields, because this ship is so beautiful, I feel like it deserves a proper look at that. So, with that being said, guys, what do you think about the revamp? Are you happy? Are you annoyed? If you're annoyed, please explain. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Stay safe. Ciao for now. Remember, live long and prosper, my friends.